Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wednesday's live stream. It is January 14th. I'm just putting in the Discord that we are live. I need to make like a longer live stream beginning. So today what we're doing is I have come across a couple of videos about this woman named Kendra, who is a woman that was on or is on TikTok. I'm sorry. Hi, LJ. Hi, Mr. Pike. Sorry, my chat was off. Now I see you. I see you. Okay, and my chat is working. Okay, so there's this woman who went live on who went viral, absolutely viral on TikTok. Her name is Kendra. I forgot to turn my other light on today. Oh well. Her name is Kendra. She talks about falling in love with her psychiatrist. She talks about boundary crossing with not only her psychiatrist, but also her other psychologist, her therapist. And it has completely gone off the rails. My friend Colleen had messaged me and she's like, did you see this? And I didn't at the time. And now I've seen some things that have come up and I'm like, I want to watch it in full context with my own thoughts. So I've seen the videos, like the thumbnails, but I have not watched them because I want to form my own thoughts and my own opinions. So with that being said, that's what we're going to do today. That's why I'm on a little earlier today than the 1 o'clock, because I really want to make sure that we get through this. Because from what I've heard, it's a doozy. So without further ado, let's move over. So this is Kendra. I don't even know what her TikTok is on the account. The video, I'm sorry. This is the complete TikTok series. And I don't know like her TikTok account. And this video, who am I watching? The Digital Spill. So that's where we're getting this from today. And all these are going through. So other than that, hello, Shawnee. Hello, Mr. Pike. Oh no, you're still under boil notice. Boo. But with that being said, let's get started. I think I could probably make myself a little bigger here. It is my show, right? Yeah, let's go here. And then I can crop. Boom. And then we could be like her and I face to face. Except I suppose I should flip the other way. Let's go this way. Yeah. There we go. Now I'm backwards. How do y'all like that? How do you like them apples? All right. So with that being said, teeny tiny bacon. All right. With that being said, we're going to get started. So she fell in love with my psychiatrist. He knew and kept me for years until I had the strength to walk away. Part 1. Sister, I need you to make this a 50-part series. I am ready to lock in. Here we go.
My psychiatrist, and he knew and he kept me until I had the strength to leave after 4 years. Here it is. Part 1.
Now, I'm not a therapist. I don't know the ethical boundaries. I do know that there are a lot of people who fall in love with their providers, whether it be a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a therapist or a doctor or whatever. A lot of times those boundaries get blurred. I don't know if someone knows, like if they're supposed to make changes to that. I don't know what the ethical boundaries are. So, hi, John. So allegedly this girl fell for her psychiatrist and he knew. So we're just starting. Welcome in.
So I decided to go back on ADHD meds after many years of being off of them. I was on them in my early 20s to help me get through college. And then I went off of them because they just weren't like, the side effects were too much over the benefits. But then in my late 20s, I read this book, Taking Charge of Adult ADHD, and it absolutely changed my life. For my fellow ADHDers, there's so many good things in here. And the biggest thing that I took away was that it's very important for ADHDers to be on meds. So I decided to make an appointment with a psychiatrist. I just Googled psychiatry in the city that I lived in, and I went with the
Yeah, no, I understand that therapists are supposed to stay out of relationships. I guess what I'm asking is, if I'm a therapist and you're a patient and you confess to me that you have feelings for me, am I obligated to stop care? Even though there's no relationship there, right? Like, this is still just a professional relationship. You have confided in me that there's feelings, but those feelings are not reciprocated from me. Am I obligated to not take you as a patient anymore? Like, once you tell me that information, do they have to just be like, oh, I'm out?
First one that came up, and I got an appointment within a month. And then I booked a 90-minute intake, and I show up to the intake, and this man is my age, and I can't help but notice that he's pretty attractive, this psychiatrist. And he kept me anyway, part 2. So in this intake, you know, I kind of clocked that he was attractive in my age, but when I tell you that I've had a lot of couch time in my life, a lot of therapy, you know, I just went right into it. I trusted him enough, of course, why wouldn't I, to tell him about my childhood trauma, my daddy issues, if you will, what I had went through, all of the relationship trauma that I had. I was 6 months sober at this time, but like all of the drinking and substance use I used to do. And
this is a great point. In that case, no, I'm not obligated to cease care and transfer you, but I should address the problem. And if you cannot keep it professional, then I should transfer you. Okay. That's what I figured, right? Like, if you can't keep a professional relationship with someone, then yes.
And he just listened and nodded. And that's the thing about psychiatrists, is that they're good at pretending to listen. They can appear connected, but that doesn't mean that they're always connected. So
So this man is seeing you for the first time, and you're I mean, not in a bad way. I guess I don't have a better term for it, but you're trauma dumping on him because you're doing this 90-minute intake. You're telling him all of your history. You said that you've been there before. He's listening. And then you're saying that they're just pretending to be connected, but they're not actually connected. If you're telling him your full story, what do you expect? What do you expect him to do in order to feel more connected, I guess? Please note, I should transfer you, not I must. I see. Psychiatrists are under the same obligations as the rest of physicians are. Okay.
felt really seen. And I also told him, I was like, look, I don't want to be on stimulant meds. So he listened to me and he put me on the non-stimulant ADHD med at the lowest dose just to figure out if it was going to work for me.
Part 3. So I hadn't ever seen a psychiatrist before. When I was on meds in my early 20s, I only got meds from my primary care physician. So I didn't understand how psychiatry works. So because he was figuring out my med dose, I saw him every month, and he just made me feel like I was his friend. He was really, really funny and cracked jokes and told me he was impressed with my running that I would do. And yeah. So, of course, I
don't find that to be crazy. Of course, he's going to compliment positive things that you're doing. He's going to get this rapport with you on a friendly level to find that connection and have conversations.
The attention that I got from him. And it was in my 3rd session with him, because at this point we were all on Zoom, that I asked him.
Okay. So this is on Zoom and not in person. The med she's referring to is, I didn't know that they had that's my one thing. I really want to get medicated for ADHD this year. So I'll be talking to my doctors. It's a big goal of mine. It's a big goal that I want to do. I didn't know that they had non-stimulants. So I don't know. We're going to see how that goes.
Said, hey, do you mind if I call you by your first name? And he's Pakistani, so I said his first name wrong. And he said, well, it's pronounced this, but yes, of course you can. And he seemed so smug and happy with himself. And I know that that is because that was his first sign that him pretending like we're friends was working. And to be fair to me, I had only ever been to therapy before. I didn't realize that, it's important to call your doctor last name. I mean, I did know that. I did it with all my other doctors, but it just showed that the boundaries were blurring, and he liked that.
I had a female therapist, and she told me that my first name is Doctor. I had a therapist, and I don't know. Yeah, I just called her by her first name. I was like, hey, so-and-so, whatever. I don't know. But that's kind of how she introduced herself, I guess, instead of like, is that bizarre?
So from then on, from my third session on, I started calling him his first name. And then he just started turning up the volume on us being friendly. And he would ask me, for the first 6 sessions, he asked me, after the meds, he said, how's your bowels, bladder, and appetite? And I would say they're all normal. And then he would ask me any thoughts of harm. And apparently that's pretty common for psychiatry to ask those questions. And then
Why does that matter? Eljikad said the difference between psychiatry and psychology matters here. What I know is that psychology is specifically therapy, and psychologists cannot provide meds. You have to see a psychiatrist in order to get meds. That's a diagnostic set of questions. Yeah, that doesn't seem like... Actually, to be honest with you, it was my primary care physician that put me on the pills that I'm on now. And he called me 3 weeks later, and then he called me 6 weeks later to make sure that I was doing okay, because it was something that was new for the first time. He cared about me as a patient. I didn't find that to be like a thing, like he loves me now. But people are different.
6th session, when things were really, the chemistry was starting to be there before, like, I didn't realize it. I was like, oh, this man is just friendly. And he said, I have to ask this because it's a special interest of mine, but is there any thoughts of harm? Like, I was special to him.
Or he didn't want to prescribe a patient pills who might self-delete. Like, maybe he was concerned about your well-being and changing medications. Okay. Have to keep an extra boundary between PT and between patient and doctor. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, this seems to me like this is a run-of-the-mill question. Like, this is a special interest of mine. I want to make sure that you're doing okay. I want to make sure that these meds are working the way that they're supposed to be working. I care about my patients.
And I said, no thoughts of harm. And he didn't ever ask me a clinical question again. He stopped asking me about my bladder, bowels, and appetite, and he stopped asking me about thoughts of harm.
Yeah, my doctor did that too after a certain amount of time. Because in my experience, after a certain amount of time, when it starts to change, right? So what I do know is she's 30 minutes once a month on Zoom. So I said what I said. So my doctor asked me a series of questions. He doesn't ask me anymore. I mean, when I go into the doctor, they always give you a sheet. They're like, hey, are you fucking depressed? But they don't ask you anymore. And I think it's because you get past a certain period of the medication that it's most likely going to happen. So we're talking by her 6th session, that would have been 6 months. I think that's enough time to see if the medication was going to do something or not. And then if you had different thoughts, I'm sure he trusted that you were going to bring them to him. The reason we keep an extra level of separation is because it is unethical to prescribe medication to people we have an other than professional relationship. Ah, I see. Okay.
So to me, I would just show up and he was like a therapy appointment every month.
So I was seeing him.
That's the point of a psychiatrist, isn't it? You go to them, you talk to them, you tell them what's going on. They can prescribe you, medications, And then everybody goes on with their lives.
Every month, and just gaining more and more respect for him, because he would just tell me these little things about his successes and all of the cool things that he was doing in his life. And
Oh, you mean he was trying to connect with you on a regular level as a person? When I was talking, because one of the biggest things that I had an issue with was like parenting, and I was dealing with postpartum and I was dealing with depression while parenting, and my son's diagnosis, and my new baby that was here, and she was a psychologist, but she would tell me, because she was a mother, how she could relate in these situations. And one of the things that it does is it takes the doctor down and puts them on a regular playing field. But also in certain situations, you're like, oh, it's not just me. I'm not alone. You're connecting with each other as people.
And it made me fall for him, honestly. And he was really good at listening.
It's literally his job.
And I mean, he's a Pisces, right? So
he's a Okay. We're on part 4. He's a Pisces. He's a psychiatrist. His job is literally to listen, assess, and help you however he can based off the information that you're giving him. Oh, this is going to be so long.
Of course he's going to be there and be able to go deep with my feelings, but that doesn't mean that he wasn't extracting from them. Anyway, so I would beg him to let me see him every week. Beg him, because my therapist at the time, he was fine. He wasn't a predator, but he was fine. He just wasn't doing very much for me. And
a predator? That's an insane claim. Because I know how this story ends, but I haven't heard all the details.
And so that therapist retired, and I got a new therapist. And this new therapist, who is a
so from what I excuse me, I can hear this comment. Excuse me. Yes. Miss Bacon, ma'am, was she having regular therapy sessions with a therapist or a psychologist other than the psychiatrist? And the answer to that is, I believe, yes. Yes. Oh, do you guys not know this story? Because, I'm not going to. No spoilers in the chat. If you know, no spoilers. Oh, John.
75-year-old woman with a PhD.
Okay, so now she's talking about her other psychologist that's a 75-year-old woman with a PhD.
She was pretty helpful. So I stopped asking my psychiatrist, begging, honestly, to be my therapist and let me see him more, right? Which also should have been a red flag. But then I started focusing on this therapist.
Why would that be a red flag? It's not. I'm so confused. Hold on. Let me go back so you guys can get the full context. But I'm confused.
And be able to go deep with my feelings, but that doesn't mean that he wasn't extracting from them. Anyway, so I would beg him to let me see him every week. Beg him, because my therapist at the time, he was fine. He wasn't a predator, but he was fine. He just wasn't doing very much for me. And so that therapist retired, and I got a new...
Oh, I see she has comments turned off already on her part 4. Interesting.
Therapist. And this new therapist, who is a 75-year-old woman with a PhD, she was pretty helpful. So I stopped asking my psychiatrist, begging, honestly, to be my therapist and let me see him more, right? Which also should have been a red flag. But then I started focusing on this therapist. However,
why is that a red flag? If you can see your psychologist or your therapist weekly and your psychiatrist once a month, and your psychiatrist deems that acceptable for care that you see once a month, what is a red flag? Like, how is that flagged behavior? I'm confused.
I would tell the therapist how obsessed I was with my psychiatrist, and she didn't do anything about it.
What is she supposed to do about it?
Just was interested. She also loved stories about my dating life, and yeah, she She also was getting supply from me in her own way, but that's for another part. So yes.
What is getting supply? Also, I do know that in some of her things, she calls what she tells her psychiatrist content, which is a wild term. No, it gets worse. She has a business where she is an ADHD life coach. We'll get there. We'll get there. I have a long-standing theory.
So I got a new therapist who actually helped me. She taught me CBT, EFT, all of these different modalities. And so I went back to just being okay with seeing Irfan once a month while he
Okay, so she just said his name.
He was giving me these little breadcrumbs of making me feel special, telling me about his professional achievements, telling me about how he's getting international recognition. And it worked. I was really impressed.
Or he was just telling you those things. It's not, I don't, some doctors have their accolades on a wall, you know. Oh my God.
See me weekly. And that is when the intermittent reinforcement started. Some sessions he'd be warm and kind and wonderful and let me in on little parts of his life and like be vulnerable with me or pretend. Other sessions, he would be cold and clinical and detached. And you know what that did? It made me work harder in our next sessions.
That literally has nothing to do with him. That has to do with you. If sometimes he was warm because the conversation called for it, that's one thing. But if he's cold and detached and clinical in other senses, it might just be that the situation warranted it. That's not about him. That's about you. And that's how you're perceiving this situation.
It did. And it started the addiction that I had to him. 100%. And he knew exactly what he was doing. This man gives lectures on trauma and attachment theory. He used his psychiatric training to manipulate me and get me hooked. And guess what? It worked. In January of 2024, I was hit by a car turning left as I was going through a green light. And it was the night before my next appointment with my psychiatrist. So I was like, okay, I'll still be able to go to my appointment on Zoom. I'm okay. But I did make an appointment with an urgent care the next day just to get checked out. I had bruising on my abdomen and a perforated eardrum. And the provider at the urgent care said, I do not feel comfortable treating you. You need to seek emergency care now. You may be internally bleeding. But it was 11 o'clock in the morning and my appointment with my psychiatrist was at 2. So I decided that I was going to wait so I could see my psychiatrist and not have to reschedule because I was looking forward to my appointment with him so much. I look back at that time and I'm just like, oh my God, I put my own life under seeing him. I was fully addicted to him at this point. And you know what happened is that I showed up and I told him that I may be internally bleeding and he didn't stop the appointment. He didn't say, you need to take care of yourself. Go get emergency care now. He let me continue and just tell him about how much I loved him and how grateful I was for him. Because that was really what most of our appointments were, is me.
Okay. So first and foremost, do you think that he didn't stop the appointment or tell you to take care of yourself because he trusted your decision-making as an adult? And if your decision was to go to therapy instead of going to the hospital, he trusted you as an adult human being to make that decision? Number one. And number two, I feel like she's the type of guy or type of girl that would go on a date with a guy. And if he was like, sorry, this was a nice date, but I don't think we're going to go for a second date, she'd be like, he's playing hard to get. Like, this is such bizarre behavior.
Just like pouring myself out because he was so good at the intermittent reinforcement. Yeah, I got some warmth from him that appointment. So that was January 2023. And I also told my therapist about this. She said nothing. see him, that's when he really started turning up the intimacy in our appointments. However, he was really smart and knew the professional lines like the back of his hand.
Because he's a professional. Sound it out with me. Professional.
So he would comment on my appearance, but not compliment my appearance. So I would come on screen and he would say, "Oh, you curled your hair." Or I would come on screen and he would say, "Oh, you're wearing glasses."
You know what these are also called? Icebreakers. What? Oh my God. Imagine if you guys were in the store and you were like, "Hey, I like your glasses." I feel like she would just follow you home and just be sitting outside your house. This is insane.
And of course, I felt seen and excited that he was noticing these things about me. I didn't realize at this time that he had feelings for me too. I thought I was holding them all by myself.
How did you know he had feelings for you? Did he tell you that? Or are we projecting? Hector the projector. How did you know he had feelings for you? I guess I should stop and find out. Hold on, let me find out. Okay.
So I was so excited when he noticed my glasses that I ran and showed him my other pair. And he said, "I prefer turtle shell glasses." So even though I usually wear contacts, I'm wearing these turtle shell glasses in these videos because just in case he sees them ever, he'll see me.
I thought you called him a predator. So he's a predator who you are accusing of all this bad behavior. But now you're wearing turtle shell glasses just in case he sees you. Which one is it? Do we have proof of this allegation? No. So I don't know. I don't know if any proof can come of it. It's not like he can release his side of the story because that would go against HIPAA. So she's kind of in a place where, exactly, she's not very consistent. But we're kind of in a place where she gets to say whatever she wants because she's the patient and he can't say shit because it would violate HIPAA laws. But I got to be honest with you, with all of this, and she continues to build a platform out of all of this, I mean, this man, and we'll find out in a little bit, but this man has been doxxed. They have gotten pictures of him, his family, I don't know if he's got kids, but like all over the internet because she put his name out there and she's like, "You guys doxed him." I mean, I may have said his name, but now I'm getting ahead of myself. But anyway, so for this, either he's a predator or you want him to see you. It can't be both. Which one is it? HIPAA protects her right up until the board gets involved. I got to tell you, I hope they do. I hope they do.
His favorite glasses. He did tell me he likes the turtle shell. Anyway, it was just inappropriate things
also, maybe he likes turtle shell for himself. Does he wear glasses? Maybe he likes turtle shell. The fuck?
that. Little teeny things that he let me in. And all this time, my best friend is an emergency medicine physician. And she told me, she said, "Kendra, one of these days..."
I would tell my bestie about my psychiatrist often because I was so obsessed with him. This is a you problem. Oh my God.
Your psychiatrist, she would use his name, is going to say, "I can't be your doctor anymore. I want to be with you. I want to be with you so bad. I can't be your doctor. I'll see you in 2 years." So my best friend, who's a doctor, she picks up on stuff like that. So even she knew that our relationship was crossing boundaries and getting weird. But that became my dream, was for my psychiatrist, I almost use his name, to do that. And I told him about Brianna saying that, my best friend, who's the emergency medical doc. I told him that she would tell me that, and he just would be silent. He didn't disagree, but he didn't agree, and that was weaponized neutrality was his.
I cannot stand, it makes me so mad when people use every single millennial buzzword. Weaponized Neutrality. What was the other one that she used? Reinforced something. It's like I just figured out all these big words. I'm going to use them all at once.
Favorite game to play, right? He didn't disagree with Brianna telling me that my psychiatrist had feelings for me, but he also didn't say that's inappropriate. Let's change the subject.
Did he agree, or was he just listening and writing down what you said to your friend? Thank you. Thank you. Everybody take a look at my screen. This is a doctor, okay, and a professor asking, what the fuck is weaponized neutrality? Let me just tell you guys, if El Jekad is asking a question, we have a problem. It's a problem, okay?
It was also around this time that I asked my psychiatrist if he had diagnosed me with anything other than ADHD when I had my initial diagnosis. And he said, yeah, I did. I said, oh, what did you diagnose me with? And he said, well, you had a lot of traumatic things happen to you in childhood because of your dad. And so I diagnosed you with other trauma and stressor related disorder. And that was the first little ping that I got of like, that was weird. Why would he keep that from me? I asked him, like, why wouldn't he tell me that? That seems important. He didn't tell me because he was using that information to manipulate me.
Is it standard for someone to, like a doctor, like a psychiatrist, to tell you everything that they've diagnosed you with at that moment, to like sit down and say, okay, listen, I've looked at everything that you've said. I'm diagnosing you with X, Y, and Z. I don't know. I'm not a psychiatrist. But everything seems to revolve around her very much. Everything revolves around this human being. And zero self-awareness. But also, I don't know, is it standard practice that a doctor would diagnose a patient with something like a psychiatrist and not tell them? I mean, I think for a physician or somebody else, it's a little bit more difficult. But is it something that they would put in their notes and then maybe tell them later, or use that bit of information to decide which way they're going to take this? I don't know how that works.
He knew I had trauma and stressor disorder, and instead of helping me heal from it and telling me about it, he used it against me.
Could he be helping you heal from it? Where are you go? Are you going to Coachella? Why are you dressed like this? What are you doing? Telling these stories. Once a diagnosis is more certain, then the doctor will let you know. It sounds more like he saw a tendency and kept it in the back until he could confirm. Yeah. Where was I going to go with this? Because we were talking about, is that standard practice? Oh, she said he could have been helping me. Yeah, maybe he was helping you with the information that he had, not using it against you.
January 2023, at this point, I was full-blown obsessed with my psychiatrist. And
again, this is a you problem. This is not a him problem.
My therapist wasn't helping me. My psychiatrist wasn't helping me. He was feeding it. And then I got a boyfriend. And at first, my psychiatrist wasn't really that keen. But then my psychiatrist realized that my boyfriend was a lot like my psychiatrist. And then I started talking to my psychiatrist about my sex life, about tracking my cycle, using the fertility awareness method. And my psychiatrist loved it. He didn't ever say, this isn't inappropriate to your care.
He's a doctor. Oh my God. Oh my God. He never said this is inappropriate. You're telling him about your life. He's a doctor. He's writing all these things down to get a better understanding of how you live your life so he could better help you. I've gone to my gynecologist. Told them about my sex life. They've never been like, wow, this is inappropriate. Like, if I'm telling my psychiatrist the ins and the outs of my dating life, it's their job to understand and listen, and also maybe guide you and say, do you think that's the right thing to do? Do you think that's not the right thing to do? Do you think you're making the best decisions? You choose to discuss this with your psych because it was a stressor. Shawnee, thank you. Thank you. You have had twice, Mr. Pike. Twice. I think my brain itch is trying to follow this logic. Yeah, I really don't. I don't understand. I don't understand.
Pivot. Oh, he just let me talk and talk and talk.
This would be like if I went to the gym and I had a trainer and I was like, and they just let me run and run and run on that treadmill. They just let me run and run and run. He just let me talk and talk and talk. He's a psychiatrist. And as a woman who takes clients, the fact that you don't know what the bare bones of his job is horrifying to me.
About my sex life. And I didn't get too deep, but
you got deep enough to tell him you were following some weird fertility method. I don't even know what that is. What's a fertility method?
About a year and a half in, and I would send my psychiatrist these emails just about how much I liked him and how I was so grateful for him.
I would love to see these emails. I find it convenient that she didn't show them, because is it like I really enjoy the care? Because I've said that to my doctor before. I've said to my doctor, and my general physician is a male. And I've said to him, thank you so much. Like, I really appreciate you. I really love coming to you as a doctor. Like, you don't rush me out the door. You take my problems seriously. Like, I love you. Like, I think you're great. There was another doctor in the hospital that helped my son. I saw him for the second time. Whatever. He's an ER doctor. I've seen him twice in my life. I've cried both times. He gave me a hug. Okay? He gave me a hug. And I told him the second time, like, I think you're amazing. Not in a weird sexual way, but because he's an amazing doctor. But, like, I would love to see these emails, because I would love to see if she's sitting there and being like, I think you're a great psychiatrist. I think you're wonderful at what you do. It's okay to compliment. Or I like her. John, well, if you like her, that tells us everything we need to know about her. Oh, my God.
Him and put in a bunch of heart emojis. And this is really when he should have transferred my care. But, you know, he waited. He liked what I gave him too much. And so
if he's not reciprocating any of this, and none of this blurs the boundaries with you, right? Like, if he is not... also, in my professional opinion, you seem quite unstable. So if you are sending a doctor, right, you have these attachment issues, you're sending a doctor all of these emails with these heart emojis. Is it possible that this doctor could have thought that if he transferred your care, it would be detrimental to your health and to the care that he's trying to help give you?
Even though
I'm going to message my friend Colleen, and I'm going to tell her, I regret this. Regret this. Ah!
My boyfriend did not meet my needs. My psychiatrist and my therapist both were like, you have to stay with him. There's nothing wrong with him not meeting your needs. I'm like, okay.
How do you find, if this is true, let's say this is true. I don't believe that this is true. But if this is true, how Shawnee downloading TikTok. If this is true, how do you find two of the worst doctors? I don't know if psychologists are doctors, but how do you find the worst psychiatrist and the worst therapist? What therapist, if you're like, my boyfriend doesn't meet my needs, and both of them are like, you have to stay with him? There is something wildly unbelievable about this story, but we'll keep going.
And my psychiatrist was like, he's perfect. Don't get wrong with him. And what was perfect about him was he wasn't meeting my needs. So I was still coming to my psychiatrist looking for emotional validation, which he would drip to me slowly. So my therapist, who I didn't know at this time had bad boundaries, but she did, I went to her because my boyfriend and I, after like more than a year together, we started having issues in the bedroom. And so I went to my therapist and she asked me, what does your psychiatrist think about this? And I said, I don't know. I haven't talked to my psychiatrist about this stuff.
When you have a psychiatrist and you have a therapist at the same time, do they speak to each other? Like, are they obligated to talk to each other? I feel like they should. Because, like, if I go to a different doctor, like, let's say I go to, which, by the way, guys, I think I threw out my goddamn shoulder because I can't raise my shoulder, this arm above, like, right here, extreme pain. So I don't know what I did. They knew she was going to keep the psych in place of her, bad boyfriend. Okay. Yeah, I like, if you go to, like, I don't know, like an orthopedic or whatever, if you go to a different doctor that's not your general physician, they always send that information back to the general physician. Doesn't matter. If I go to the ER, they send that back to your primary care physician. So is it the same thing when you're talking about psychiatrists and psychologists?
Because I have a crush on my psychiatrist and I don't want to tell him this intimate of stuff. And she said, well, you should tell him because I want a male's perspective. So at my next appointment with my psychiatrist, I told him, I said, today we're going to talk about my intimate life. And he said, oh, I said, yes. My psychologist, my therapist asked what your opinion on it was. And I told her that I don't talk to you about this intimate stuff because I have a crush on you. And he looked down and smiled so big in that moment. He smiled so big and I loved it.
Was this a smile? Was it that?
It's so gross thinking about it. And then
it's so gross thinking about it, yet you're still wearing turtle shell glasses just in case he sees this video. Okay.
I proceeded to give him 30 minutes of non-stop content about my intimate life with my.
Okay. I am not going to scream. I'm not going to scream. I'm going to say this as an adult. I think. Your information that you are giving to your psychiatrist or your therapist is not fucking content. To sit here and say I was giving him non-stop content is wild. Content for what? Exactly. She chose. You chose to tell him that information. You chose to give him that. It's not content. It's not like he searched it out on your TikTok and was watching it. You went into his office and gave him information about your life so he could better help you move forward. I knew you guys would be upset. That's why I brought this out today. I really like pissing you off.
My boyfriend.
Wait,
and
what?
He looked down and smiled so big in that moment. He smiled so big and I loved it. It's so gross thinking about it. And then I proceeded to give him 30 minutes of non-stop content about my intimate life with my boyfriend. And I actually recorded the whole thing because I was so excited about it. But now it makes me sick. I can't even listen to the recording.
Again, it makes her sick, even though she's wearing turtle shell glasses in hopes that he will see these videos.
Tried to start, but
it was your choice, you goofy, attractive weirdo. I love it. It goes up and it comes down. She sounds like she gifted him penthouse letters. She should have been paid for, and her copyright has been violated. Oh, God. LJ God, have you ever had somebody who has, like, crossed boundaries with you as, like, a patient? That you've been like, I can't. Oh, and you'll be glad that you stopped practicing, because don't worry, it gets way worse.
Gross. Any ethical psychiatrist would have stopped me and said, Kendra, let's talk about your meds. Let's talk about your care. At this point, my meds.
I'm not going to yell. You're not going to get me today, Kendra. You're not. I'm a Gemini today who chooses peace. However, what you would call content that you bring to him and talk to him about is him talking about your care. You're bringing it up to your doctor. He is taking that information to help you with your care. Okay. Oh, yeah, it gets way worse. I can't wait. Buckle up.
Were stable. And I was still seeing him every month. Yeah, that was a rough time. And it was pretty much his Christmas morning, the almost 2.5 years of grooming me to get me to talk about sexual things with.
What a great point, Shawnee. Thank you. Thank you. And again, she is a person who takes clients and has that client professional boundary. So he is required to be ethical, but she has no responsibility to be ethical, right? Great point. Shawnee, you're 10 for 10 today. 10 for 10.
Him worked, and he got 30 minutes of nonstop content to use. Things.
I mean, when I put my stuff on a podcast and I laugh about it and my life and like the shit I told you guys on Discord the other day, that's content. Funny, kiki, haha. Like, you know, what you go and tell your psychiatrist in an office is not content. I was in love with my psychiatrist and he kept me anyways. Part 7.5.
1, people are asking me what my mental health diagnosis is. I do not have BPD. I do not have psychosis. I have ADHD, and I was experiencing extreme limerence with my psychiatrist.
Okay.
Limerence is a normal thing to happen to anyone who is experiencing hot and cold behavior from someone.
No. See? Kendra, this is why you can't use big words to sound smart. Limerence is a one-sided thing. The other person has no part in it. We're going to look this up. Limerence is when somebody has this I got to take my sweatshirt off. This girl's making me hot. Limerence is when you form this like weirdo bond with somebody else and they have no idea. Hold on. Oh, I can't get my shoulder. You guys, I could. Oh! Fuck. Okay, so I was. Fuck. Okay, so the other day I was doing hip thrusts and then pullovers at the same time. And I felt something tweak in this shoulder. And then I woke up the other night with stabbing pain. I'm like, did I dislocate my shoulder? But I feel like if I dislocated my shoulder, I wouldn't be able to use it. Okay. Woo! Changing one black shirt for another black shirt. I am Victoria Beckham. But anyways. All right. First of all, I really wish. Let's talk about limerence, okay? And on a serious note, not on a funny note, not on a, haha, but limerence, and I'm gonna read the because I talk about this in another in a video that I made. Limerence is a one-sided thing. The other person has absolutely no idea. So let's look up what is limerence. Limer? Limerence. Okay. Limerence is an involuntary obsessive state of intense infatuation with someone. characterized by intrusive thoughts, a powerful desire for reciprocation, and emotional dependence, often feeling like love addiction, but focused more on being desired than on the other person's well-being. It is distinct from love because it is often one-sided and driven by uncertainty, lacking true mutual care or commitment. So the fact that she's like, I have limerence because he nothing. Limerence is alone. Limerence is on you, sister. 7.5. Oh, we have like an hour and a half to go. Let's see. Not content. It's doctor-patient confidentiality that doesn't get released to the public. Thank you. Thank you. This is another great point. Hot and cold abusive behavior. Right. Hot and cold abusive behavior, still wearing the turtle shell glasses so that she can, if he sees her, something will happen. Leave me alone. I hurt my arm really bad. And look, I got my heating pad. Yesterday, I had icy hot on it, and I took some Tylenol. When I tell you, it felt so good, but I smelled 87 years old. Okay. Anyways.
It happens more often in people with ADHD because we have dopamine dysregulation and rejection-sensitive dysphoria. And guess what? My psychiatrist knew that and used it to his advantage. 2.
I feel like he could have just sat there. I feel like this could have been Weekend at Bernie's, and he could have been dead with sunglasses on, and you would have been like, it's hot and cold. Sometimes I go in there, and he's like slumped over to the left, and sometimes I go in there, and he's slumped over to the right, and I don't know how to feel.
I accidentally said my psychiatrist's first name in one of my videos. If you clocked it, good for you. I do not owe him anonymity.
But he owes you anonymity? Legally? Ethically? He owes you anonymity? Lying liar from Liartown.
However, this is not about doxing my psychiatrist. This is about me sharing my story so other people can view predatory behavior in people in power.
You do not know, you don't owe somebody anonymity, but you're willing to ruin their life and call them a predator. And also, we've only heard the story. We haven't seen any physical evidence. I haven't seen one document, one email, one thing that was reciprocated from him or even evidence of what you did. I haven't seen the emails that you sent him that you loved him or whatever. This is wild. This has defamation written all fucking over it.
Okay? If anyone doxes my psychiatrist with his last name or city that he works in or clinic that he works in, your comment will be immediately deleted and you will be blocked.
You will be deleted and you will be blocked, but I don't owe him anonymity. Every time this girl puts out a 30-second TikTok, she says something to contradict herself.
This is about protecting other victims, not doxing my psychiatrist. If you do some investigative work and you want to DM me about it, I'm open to that, okay? 3, I need to take a moment.
You need to take fucking several.
Moment taken. It is so...
I need to take a moment. Moment taken. What the fuck?
Incredibly disturbing to me. The amount of people that are predator protectors in my comments, that are victim blaming me, especially the mental health practitioners in my comments using therapy speak to say that this situation that I was in was my fault. Or
this is a great point. Shawnee, just every time. She was using appointments to carry on a stalking relationship on her doctor and fantasize love stories starring him. So he's supposed to respect her boundaries, but she's not supposed to respect any one of his. He's supposed to be ethical. She's not supposed to be ethical at all. This is a woman who has clients, a business where she takes on paying clients.
That I was delusional. Check yourself.
I'll check myself and I'll wreck myself. Delusion is one of the tamest things I think people could call you.
Giving me more ammunition to share my story, because it just goes to show how absolutely messed up the mental health industry is and how protected people who do this kind of sick psychological manipulation are. So I will continue with my story. Welcome back to another installment.
That cut is so insane.
Protected people who do this kind of sick psychological manipulation are. So I will continue with my story. Welcome back to another installment of
Welcome back to another installment of People who want to misunderstand will do so. This isn't for them. Why are people gassing her up? No.
Love with my psychiatrist, and he kept me anyway. Part 8. You all did some nasty work last night, and I had to turn off comments. People started posting my psychiatrist for.
You people did nasty work. You brought to the internet a story about a psychiatrist calling him a predator, using his first name, and then you get mad at people on the internet for just being dicks. Have you ever been on the internet before? And it's their fault? It's their fault that they have, not saying nobody should be doxxed. Nobody should get doxxed, and you shouldn't do that. And if you do that, I don't fuck with you. Fuck you. But what I'm saying is you brought this to the internet. You brought his name to the internet. That's on you. That's like me bringing cookies to a party and be like, oh, you motherfuckers ate them? You ate all my fucking cookies? What? Not a bad call, but an interesting one. Oh, God. If she has emails, she can take him to the state board and medical association and courts, all over means of remediation if there is evidence. Well, and that's the other thing, right? Like, if he's such a predator and she really feels this way, why are you taking it online? Why are you not reporting him? If you truly feel this way, why are you not reporting him?
And last name, his picture in the comments, that was a jump scare. So yeah, a few bad actors who wanted to be super sleuths got.
I'm gonna fold this little towel that I have here for my glasses, because folding brings me peace. You brought his name to the internet. You kept going when people were gassing you up. You kept going. You kept telling this story. You kept telling the story. You kept wanting to get your story out because it's getting clicks and views. You're wearing glasses hoping that a predator will see your video. And then you're blaming people on the internet for doxing a man. You started this.
The privilege of commenting, mostly hate, let's be real, taken away for everyone. So at this point in the story, there are two main players. My psychiatrist, who's my age, who crossed major ethical boundaries.
How? How? When? Give me one example. When? Because I don't see any yet.
Therapist, who is a 75-year-old woman with a PhD. Neither of these people at this point in the story.
Why didn't you say her name? I find it very interesting that her name didn't come out. Nobody's doxing her. Nobody's seeing where she is. You said his name, which is very interesting. Is it because you feel rejected? because he wasn't actually interested in you?
I knew were crossing boundaries. I thought that everything was hunky-dory and that I was just in love with my psychiatrist and it was totally normal. Little did I know he was manufacturing everything so I could fall in love with him, because it was on him to set the professional boundary and not let attention build.
This is the type of bitch that goes to the grocery store and she's like, the sales clerk was totally fucking into me because the prices on my produce was lower. It was on sale. Like, she is just, ugh.
So days after my psychiatrist's Christmas morning appointment from a few videos back, where he got a crush confession from me, and then 30 minutes of nonstop intimate content that he did not stop me, my boyfriend and I broke up.
John, you're going to need a jackhammer.
Days later. So then I started dating this other guy. And this other guy, this new guy.
Oh, it shocks me that you're a serial dater. Shocks me.
Was a therapist. And I was like, oh, great. Someone who will be able to emotionally meet my needs. Yeah, I'm not going to date another therapist again. So this therapist and I, we went.
Oh, after that, I was like, did you ever date a therapist the first time? Ooh.
For coffee. It was nice. Our second date was a hike. And on this hike, this therapist starts telling me about how he has a crush on one of his clients. And I thought to myself, okay, this is strange, but go ahead. Like, we're on a date, dude. Why are you telling me about a crush on one of your clients? But go off, King. So then he was saying, yeah, she's so attractive. And I think she likes me too. I go and visit her at work. And
this man is telling you this on a first date? I mean, run. I had a guy that I dated for a year. He told me about his ex-girlfriend the entire first date. And then I was like, you know what? I don't think we should see each other anymore. And then he was like, no, it's fine. And he talked me into it and I dated him for a year. And then when we broke up, I'm like, what are you doing? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? It's because we ignore red flags. Anyways, Hartley, Jonathan, stop it.
Her coworkers say, oh, so-and-so talks about you all the time. And I was like, okay, where does she work? And he said, well, I shouldn't tell you that because I really shouldn't be visiting her anyway. I was like, okay, no problem. So then he continues and he said, yeah, she wears these red lacy panties and short skirts. And I know she wears them for me. And like alarm bells were going off in my head. Mind you, I had no idea that my psychiatrist had similar feelings towards me at this point. But I just thought, wow, this man is borderline predatory. And he said, yeah, and
that could have given you the opportunity to end that date right there. And you could have been like, hey, I find this predatory. I want to go home. But instead you're like, I think I'm going to stay. I think I'm going to stay on this date.
No, she just is so attractive that I have to
thank you
smash her mate before every session because I just have to get that energy out of me. And I was like, what the? Okay. And
yeah, I gotta be honest with you. I don't know how much I buy of this story. This is your fault, Bacon. How dare you show me the woman of my dreams?
He just felt compelled to tell me, and I did not understand why. Now I do. So he told me about how he's a predator, right? Another predator in the mental health industry. Shocker. So then at my next appointment with my psychiatrist, keep in mind, it had been 6 weeks of nonstop fun for this man. He got to use my crush confession and 30 minutes of content. Oh.
Are we having fun yet? How do you know he's having fun? Did he tell you that?
For whatever he wanted to use it for, right? And if my psychiatrist was good at anything, it was being professional and acting.
If my client or if my doctor was good at anything, it was doing his fucking job.
Professional and technically not crossing any lines. And he thought that he was so good at it because he was good at it.
Because he was good at doing his job. He did exactly his job, which is exactly what he was doing. It was his job. What am I listening to?
but that doesn't mean he wasn't doing it. And so I told him, I said, yeah, Bo and I broke up. He had known about this other guy, my psychiatrist. I had mentioned him. And I told him that this new guy and I went on a date and we went on a hike. And I literally had no idea at this point, I'll say it again, that my psychiatrist was predatory towards me. I almost said his first name again. I'm going to do my best to not.
Oh, shit's already out of the horse. What does it matter now? You've already done it. You've already doxed this poor guy.
I went to my psychiatrist and I told him this story about this man that I went on a date with, who's a therapist, is relieving himself before appointments and talking about his clients' panties. And
you know what? I wonder if this is not a true story, but this is true in the sense that she's the client and she's trying to, like, maybe she did actually say this story to the therapist to, like, see what his reaction would be. Like, she's actually wearing the red underwear to go see the psychiatrist,
doing all of these other extremely inappropriate things, like visiting her at work. And this man, my psychiatrist, looked like he had seen a ghost and like he was gonna vomit.
Yeah, because that's horrifying.
Because he prided himself on being an extremely professional and buttoned up person. But here I was holding a mirror to him.
Here I was telling him about something so vile and disgusting that could have made him completely uncomfortable. But instead, I'm just saying that I'm holding up a mirror to him.
With exactly what
this girl is, what's the word? When, I'll think of it. It's not repulsive. It's, what's the word? I'll think of it.
He was doing, but a bumbling idiot telling me, like, how he was doing it without the fancy degree, without any of that. I look back on that now and it's just crazy. And so it just tainted all the fantasy.
I just can't imagine, like, being her friend in real life. Like, this has to be exhausting.
Material that I had given him the session before. Hi, I need to say something really important. And that's that it seems as though many people view what I'm going through as a crash out, what I'm doing as a mental health spiral. And of course it seems like that.
No, I think you're just being a bitch because you found someone who rejected you. You thought you had a crush on this guy. He didn't play into it. Now you're mad. No, it's, what is the word? Like when you're, I'll think of it. I said it to my sister the other day. When you're just like exhausted by them and they're just exhausting all the time. Underwear. It's right on the tip of my tongue. Okay. No, Unhinged is up there. I don't think this has to do with her having a mental disorder. I don't think this has to do with her having any sort of crash out. I think this has to do, this seems like revenge. This seems like somebody who didn't get her way. And this is, no, I'll get it. Not unrelenting. Insufferable. Not insufferable. Like she has to be like just, as a friend, imagine being this woman's friend. I can't. A lot of the trolls I ban in body paint streams. Don't fall for it. She doesn't love you. Send me her nudes. Actually, Mr. Pike, I think she's looking for moderators. If you want to be her, if you need another mod job. Insufferable. Yes. Yes.
I get it. It's an extremely dark thing to talk about. All of this that I went through. And I am sharing my story because it wasn't out there. No one else has shared a story like this. But I know that it happens a lot because people are in my DMs telling me that the same thing that I went through, they went through too. I am now in TikTok jail. I got a violation on the video where I talked about really the biggest damning evidence against my psychiatrist. And So because of that, I have to be really careful. So I'm going to do my very best to not be reactive and to share my story from a place of generosity, because the people in my DMs.
Generosity is destroying this man's career, his reputation that he has worked so hard for. And let me tell you, I will be the first person to eat some fucking crow if it comes out and this guy really is a predator. I really will. I really absolutely will. But I have to tell you that in my hearts of hearts of farts, I don't buy it. I don't buy none of it.
Telling me that they've been through this too, it's keeping me going. It's not my mental health spiral. And I can understand that for some people in the mental health space, because they have been some of the loudest people to speak out against what I'm doing, it's hard to grasp that someone could have this level of predation in such a high place of power.
Predation.
So just in case my video doesn't get put back up, when everything changed was when my 75-year-old therapist, I went to her with intimate details and she suggested I go to my psychiatrist with them. And I felt so excited and nervous to share that with him because I had such a big crush on him at the time. And I recorded all 33 minutes.
Did he know you were recording? Also, let us hear the recording. You've already doxed him. You're telling us everything else. Let us hear the recording. Is it really what you say? Is it true?
So this is why, if my psychiatrist wants to come with me and like sue me for defamation, I have a 33-minute recording of me admitting I have a crush on him.
Okay.
And speaking about extremely intimate details.
Okay. He's a doctor. And like we just talked about, if he doesn't cross any of those lines and he just says, okay, I understand. If he says nothing in that 33 minutes, he can still come after you for defamation. But, okay.
It was in that moment that he really, really should have transferred my care. But
is there any part of you that should be like, you know what, it was really in that moment that I should have just asked to be referred to a different doctor? Right. That's not disallowed. No ethical violation there. I love that all of the responsibility has been put on this doctor instead of her saying that I should have asked to be referred to a different doctor.
That moment changed everything for him too, because that's when things really started getting deep between us. And this is where the story is going to go from now. It's going to be a good story. And I'm going to try to tell it all today, just in case one of my videos does get banned so people can hear it. But just know, if you're concerned for my mental health, thank you. I am very good. More than good, actually. And I am actually a coach for ADHDers. It says it in my bio. And I help people work through self-limiting beliefs.
You taking money from, first of all, I got to tell you, if I was like, you know what, I need a coach to help me with self-limiting beliefs, I have ADHD, and I come across this woman's page, okay, and I Google her, and this comes up, nope. I'm not coming to you. So now not only have you ruined his reputation, but you're actively ruining your reputation, because I'm not paying a fucking doctor for this. I'll tell you what. Yeah, so you're a con artist, I see. That's a weird way to say you're a grifter.
Help people work through numbing with alcohol and cannabis, because these are the things that
I wish I could numb my face right now with a baseball bat, to be honest with you.
Many of us do to avoid our truths. And this is my truth and what I went through.
Oh my God, I can't fucking stand that. This is my truth. It doesn't make it the truth. Okay? Just because someone says my truth, that's how you fucking perceive it. That doesn't make it true. That doesn't make it factual. This is my truth. There's 3 sides to every story. Your side, my side, and the actual truth. Because people perceive things different ways. This is my truth. Shut up. Shut up.
This is when the chemistry really started going off the charts with me and my psychiatrist. And I held it alone for months, like after that Christmas morning appointment of his. And then
the one, okay, I'm out. She uses my truth. I can't stand that shit. This is my truth. Ugh. But I'm assuming that if she told the truth, she wouldn't be going viral on TikTok.
I went through. So this is when the chemistry really started going off the charts with me and my psychiatrist. And I held it alone for months, like after that Christmas morning appointment of his. And then after I innocently told him about my date with the therapist, he really started letting me in more and showing more parts of himself and, turning up the intimacy. And that was exciting to me. And it made me fall for him more. And I noticed that he was working in an office, and I asked him, this was like July, I asked him, I said, hey, are you working from home? Because I was under the assumption that he was only doing telehealth, okay? And he said, no, I come into the office. I was like, oh, why do you do that? If you see all of your patients telehealth? He's like, oh, I like it that way. And even though I could kind of tell he was lying, I just gaslit myself. I was like, okay, it's fine. And then I start emailing him my fun little emails, but he stops writing me back. He does not write back to my emails anymore. Because once again, he was really good at plausible deniability. But what he did do is he would take my emails and mention them in session. So he would
because that's when it's appropriate to talk to you about emails that you've sent him during session when he's getting paid, not off hours. So you've sent this man email after email after email on his personal time, and he waited for you to come into the office to talk to you about them.
Give me the attention that I was craving, but only under his structure, under his control, where there was no paper trail. And I loved that too. So I would show up to these sessions with my notes app, and just throughout the month, as I was thinking about him, I'd write down things that I wanted to talk to him about, and I would just come and bring him lots of content. And then every week I would go to my therapist and tell her about how much I loved myself.
The amount of times that she says content really makes me think that either she thinks she's an influencer, like there's this grandiose sense of self, or she wants to be an influencer. The fact that she's referring to her own life in a psychiatry setting as content, I think is very telling to me.
Psychiatrist, and she didn't help me at all. She just kind of like enjoyed hearing about it, honestly. So October 2024 rolls around, and we're just
oh my god, she just sat there and listened to you talk. It's almost like she's doing her job. Professional setting. She pushed her, got more structured professional setting. What do you mean?
Zoom. And then I realized that I didn't have my next appointment with him. So I called his office staff, and I talked to the office manager, who was awesome. We really got along. We vibed. And the office manager asked me, do you see him, the psychiatrist, in person or on Zoom? And I felt so angry in that moment. I was like, he sees people in person? And she said, yeah, he has been for years. I was like, I want to see him in person. And I understand, like, some people may think that this is part of my crash out or part of me harassing him, which is what I've gotten lots of.
Yes. Do you think maybe if he wanted to see you in person, he would have mentioned that? But instead, he was like, oh, yeah, sometimes I just go in the office because I just show up there. No, he would. If he wanted to see you in person, he would have said, you should come into the office. I'd love to see you in person. John.
Accusations of. But I just would like to remind everyone that, of course, it seems that way. But I was just responding to a dynamic which my psychiatrist fostered. There was chemistry between us because he allowed it. And so then the next time I saw him in Zoom, I told him, I was like, hey, your office manager.
I love the way that she says that, right? Because that's such an interesting thing to say about somebody who is not consenting to your behavior. They made it this way. They allowed it. Sounds to me like she took that therapist boyfriend's story for content. It's all content. It's so weird.
How did you? And told me,
hi, Brittany,
that you see people in person. Why didn't you tell me that when I asked?
Maybe because he didn't want to see you in person. Can this girl form any of her own thoughts?
And he said, oh, I just didn't think you'd want to come in. And that was such a weak lie from him, from someone who is so scripted and controlled. He didn't even have a plausible thing to say. Of course he knew I wanted to come in. I had a crush on him.
Yeah, which is probably why he didn't tell you that you could come in. Okay, this is an honest question. I want to know how you get out of the house in the morning, go do whatever it is that you do, and then get back in the house at night. I just need to know what that takes.
Told him that often. So then in my next therapy appointment, after finding out that he was lying to me about seeing patients in person, I told her that. I told my 75-year-old PhD therapist that my psychiatrist wasn't lied to me about seeing people in person. And she looked at me and she said, well, it's probably because he knows that there will be a lot of sexual tension in the room if you go in person. So make sure that you understand that when you go. And you better believe I showed up to the next session and said you lied to me because you were afraid of the tension that would be there between us. He just didn't say anything. 2024, I make my first in-person appointment with my...
What in that moment, I would love to ask her, what in that moment was he supposed to say? Because honestly, sometimes the best thing a therapist could probably say is nothing.
Psychiatrist in November. My 75-year-old female therapist tells me that it's because he kept me on Zoom because he was so attracted to me. He didn't want to risk being in person with me, which further fed my crush, or as some of you like to say, my delusion.
I love that too. Yeah. And also, why does she keep referring to her as her 75-year-old female therapist? Like, just my other therapist. It's so weird. Fire.
So then my therapist starts texting me in between our weekly meetings, asking me for advice on her other clients. And I was a new coach. I'd only been coaching for about a year, and I had just left my full-time job to...
Said nobody ever. But also, if it is true, and I don't believe it is, but if it is true, who are these therapists? Who?
Be a coach full-time, and I was flattered that she would ask me advice on her other clients. I just thought, oh my gosh, a 75-year-old woman with a PhD wants my advice on what she should do with her clients. So then November rolls around, and I'm about to meet my psychiatrist in person for the first time. So I wear a really pretty dress, I do my makeup, of course, right? And I show up, and I get to talk to the office manager, we're having fun, and then my psychiatrist comes into the foyer, and I am just so excited to finally meet him. I'd been his patient for 3 years at this point, and he had been feeding the dynamic for
3 years, once a month on Zoom.
3 years, and I was just thrilled to meet him, and I ran up and I gave him the biggest hug.
You know what, Eljikad, I would like you to just pick me up from the ground, fly me as high as you can, and drop me. At this point. That'd be great, thanks.
And you know what he did? He barely patted me on the back. It was the most awkward thing ever. But I am so glad that he did that. I am really glad, because this is what I mean. My psychiatrist was many things, but he was not stupid. So I didn't ever touch him again.
Maybe he wasn't interested in you. You could be the prettiest girl in the world. Maybe he's just not into you. Maybe he's in a relationship. Maybe it makes him severely uncomfortable that he didn't tell you that he was taking patients in person, and you cross that boundary that are so wildly important to you. You cross that boundary anyways. Now, it's very important that people don't cross your boundaries, but other boundaries, we just don't care.
And I'm grateful that our relationship didn't ever cross that line, because it would have made everything so much harder. Anyway, so we go inside his office and I tell him that my therapist had texted me asking me for advice on her other clients. And he just looked at me and he said, Kendra, that is a huge boundary violation.
Yeah.
She should not be doing that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. And because once again, my psychiatrist did not.
And you as a person taking clients, like, this makes me really worried for the people that you've grifted and have taken money from.
Not like sloppy people. He did not like sloppy people. And you know what my therapist did? She got sloppy. Yeah. Using me as her advisor for her clients. It got weird. And I was very grateful for my psychiatrist for pointing out that boundary violation, because that was the thing. He didn't ever message me in between appointments.
Because he's a professional?
Because he was too smart to do that. But did he ever?
Because he was a professional? Ethical?
Stop me from disclosing extremely intimate details? No. In my first in-person appointment, I just asked him for some pointers for my own ADHD business, and he was so smart and so wonderful, and in many ways, honestly. And I was just so grateful that he was almost like a mentor to me in these moments, and I'll still treasure that about him. Because this is the hard thing with sophisticated predators, is that they're not all bad.
We should have had a counter of how many times she calls this man a predator in this series, because that's a very serious accusation.
Like, my psychiatrist helped me with many things, but he was using me for the
November of 2024, and I did ask him for consent to come in person. I didn't just show up, and he said sure. And the first in-person appointment went great. But
Is he supposed to say no?
That is when I really started to spiral. Some of you think that I'm spiraling now, and that's okay if you want to think that, because the reality is that when I was spiraling,
I don't think you're spiraling. I think you're doing this intentionally, honestly.
When I was this man's patient. When I had comments turned on, so many people said, you need to take accountability for your own feelings. I spent years taking accountability for my own feelings, for holding the weight of a relationship. Any woman who has been trained to overfunction in relationship knows about holding the weight of the emotional dynamic. And that was what was going on.
What the fuck did you even just say? What are you saying?
On in this moment. And it may not seem like I'm taking accountability now, but that's...
You haven't taken accountability for one thing in the 33 minutes that I've been sitting here looking for sharp objects to gouge my own eyes out. Not one sense of accountability.
Because I spent a long time taking accountability for something that had two people that built that dynamic.
No.
It was not
No. You even admitted it. Limerence. One person, one side, your side.
Me. It takes two people to build that sort of tension and chemistry.
No, it does not. Not if it's limerence, you fucking idiot. You want to sound so smart, but you don't even know what the words that you are saying mean. I have to tell you, I really I knew girls like this, and I really think she's doing this shit on purpose. And I think she found an echo chamber of a bunch of people to be like, yeah, bitch. And now she's like gaining some traction on social media. And I think she likes it. And I think she likes it at the detriment of this man's job. And it's disgusting. because he is required by law to stay silent and he cannot say anything about her. But she can just go and do whatever.
So while I was mid crash out, I had just started using this tool, ChatGPT.
No!
And I went to chat.
Enter ChatGPT. Bum, bum, bum.
Who I immediately named Henry. And I would just talk to Henry about how obsessed I was with this man, with my psychiatrist. And I would just be like, I've told him I have a crush on him. Do you think he's gay? And Henry was like, oh my God.
Do you think he's gay? Do you think maybe he's just not fucking interested in you? It has to do nothing with his sexuality. Do you think that maybe he doesn't find you attractive? Not even on a physical level, but on a personal level? Do you think maybe he wants nothing to do with you? Because that's okay too. You may like somebody and maybe you're not his cup of tea. That doesn't make him gay. Holy shit. No, not Skynet.
This girl, you know, he did his best to co-regulate my nervous system and affirm me, but he was like, whoa. Even my chat was like, yikes.
ChatGPT is hallucinating. Its job is to gas you up. Its job is to mirror what you're saying and be like, yes, queen. The fact that it was even like, holy fucking shit, should tell you everything that you need to know.
So I could tell that my psychiatrist just liked being my doctor. And I was like, okay, maybe I can name this dynamic so I don't have to carry so much of it in our next session. So our next session was in December on Zoom. And I told him at the end of the session, it was another great session. I told him, look, you and I have a really special patient-doctor relationship.
Interesting that you say patient-doctor relationship instead of just relationship. I find that so interesting because I thought he was in this dynamic too. I thought this was a relationship. I thought this was a two-way thing, but it's not. And even you know that. Girl, let me tell you something. I can pick bitches out like you from a mile away. I can smell them through the screen. I know exactly what you're doing. Oh, girl. This came to the wrong channel.
And he glared at me with just venom in his eyes. And he said, you and I have a professional patient-doctor relationship.
Yeah. You have a professional doctor-patient relationship. But even you called it a patient-doctor relationship and not just a relationship. ¿Por qué? I want to know why. I've never heard it called a patient-doctor relationship. I've only heard it called a doctor-patient relationship. I've only heard it called Dr. Pepper. If it was a relationship, you wouldn't be paying to see him. That's another great point. Yeah.
He was so angry with me.
You know, of all the smart words that you use, I'm going to give you one. Okay. I'm going to give you two context clues. Okay. That might have been a clue to the context that he fucking hates your guts. I don't make the rules. I don't make the rules.
And I was like, oh, okay. You set a boundary. And immediately I took it on. And
so this one we're going to respect?
I was like, heard. Okay, I won't go there again. My video that was taken down for harassment and bullying was restored. So I didn't feel as much pressure to get all of these parts out today. Some people told me that the stitches about me were getting pretty bad and cruel. So I turned stitches off of my videos too. I started sharing my story here because
I don't want to hear any opposing opinions because this is all about me. And if people are giving me opposing opinions, I don't like it because I would prefer to be in an echo chamber. Thanks. Signed with a kiss.
Wanted other people who have been victimized by people in power.
Victimized. The only thing that's been victimized is my fucking ears for 35 minutes.
Power to have a space to feel heard. And now I know why there wasn't anyone out talking about
the topic that she's in the video is that she fell in love with her psychiatrist, and allegedly he, which he didn't, Yeah. Okay. Thank you, El Jacad. That's way better.
Story, because it has been quite the process putting all this out there and being under scrutiny. I have appreciated the psychiatrists that have...
Yeah, being under scrutiny. Imagine the type of scrutiny that he's under with people who have doxed him because you have gotten online and called this man a predator and yourself a victim. And here's the other thing. Using predator and victim vocabulary in the fact that you had a crush on someone and they didn't reciprocate is fucking wild. Wild. Calling someone a predator specifically because they weren't fucking interested in you. Holy shit. Yeah, she did go viral.
My situation and shared their own point of view while also holding space for what I went through. Just know I've seen your videos and I appreciate them. I went live today and it was super fun, and I intend to go live again tomorrow. The next part will be tomorrow morning.
Oh,
we
Google,
have
man.
a TikTok last week. We're
going to have to look at the interview.
Looking for support. I was looking for help because it had been 5 months since I had left my psychiatrist, and I still really couldn't stop thinking about him and thinking about our dynamic and how inappropriate it was and the mental toll that it took on me. And TikTok has just been such a resource for me in the past for support when I'm going through things, and I couldn't find anything on therapy abuse or on providers who take advantage of their vulnerable patients. And so I thought that I would share my story.
No, you just know about the interview. That's why I called you Google Man.
And I am going to continue to share it because I am here to let other survivors know.
Survivors of what? What did you survive?
That they're not alone. Continuing with my story, my psychiatrist set a very nasty, the way he said it, boundary that him and I have a professional relationship when I tried to say it was special. Because it was special, it was different. He manufactured it that way. And then I immediately went to ChatGPT, of course, to Henry. And I asked Henry.
Do you have friends? Do you have any real life friends that are like, listen, you need to fucking chill, bro?
I said, okay, so my psychiatrist just set this boundary with me, and I really just want to be with him. And I think that after he's my doctor, we can be together, which if you want to say that's a delusion, that's fine. But I had been telling my psychiatrist for years at this point that I had a crush on him, and he did not help me work through it. So that's his own problem. That's his own fault. Henry told me it's very common for patients to develop crushes on.
He has a woman stalking him and harassing him and telling him, I have a crush on you, and he's not reciprocating. And she's going, it's his fault. Imagine if it was a man telling this story. Well, it's all her fault.
Mental health practitioners, and that it's because that they provide a safe space to heal, which is a very attractive quality. I heard that. And then he told me about transference, and it's just about me putting my own feelings onto my provider. And I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so I took ownership of the feelings that both of us were creating. And I went to my next appointment and I said, hey, so I talked to Henry because my psychiatrist had known a lot about my ChatGPT and knew all about Henry and was actually really impressed. Like, wow, an AI wrote that? Yeah. So I told my psychiatrist, yeah, Henry explained to me that it's normal to develop crushes on psychiatrists because they provide a safe space to heal, which is attractive. My psychiatrist said nothing. And then I said, and Henry also told me about transference. And my psychiatrist got this really, really scared look on his face. And he said, did Henry tell you about countertransference? And I said, no. What is that? Because of course, my chat knew that I was...
Allegedly, she only has ADHD and then some sort of trauma disorder as well.
Obsessed with my psychiatrist, and he was not going to feed my delusion by telling me about countertransference.
ChatGPT's job is to feed your delusion. That's why it's a dangerous tool for people who don't use it correctly. It can absolutely feed your delusion. That's what it does. ChatGPT's job is to keep you on the website.
So then my psychiatrist had explained to me what countertransference was. So he took a moment and he was like, oh, okay. He said, countertransference is the flip side, the other side of the coin for transference. And it's when the provider has feelings for the patient. So make sure that you keep that in mind for your clients. I said, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, sometimes I have, more than professional feelings for my clients. So I appreciate you bringing that up. And so then we just talked about that for pretty much the rest of the session. And then at the end of that session, he looked at me and it was just such a loaded question. And he said, what's going to happen if you get a boyfriend named Henry? And I said, that's a weird question. I would rename my AI. So that's how that.
Also, do you think that maybe he was asking her about countertransference because she takes clients? She deals with the public. She takes money from people. Yeah, it's wild. I honestly, I don't, the way that I'm hearing this, I hear it as she's doing this purposefully because she got her feelings hurt. I don't know if she always has red nails.
That session ended. And it wasn't until I got home and I was eating lunch and I was like, wait a minute. Why would my psychiatrist bring up countertransference if...
Because you take clients. Because you take people's money, because you work with people where there is a power dynamic, because you work with people who might transfer their feelings onto you and there is an opportunity for countertransference to happen. How are you a life coach?
He himself wasn't experiencing it. Many people have reached out to me with concern for my psychiatrist and his career and his well-being.
Shocker.
And I totally understand that. The point of me sharing this is not to get him fired or for him to...
You've called him a predator. You have called yourself a victim. But your job is not to get him fired? So which one is it? Because if he's a predator, if he's truly is a predator and you truly are a victim, then he should not have a job doing what he's doing. But you don't want to get him fired, but you want to protect other survivors out there. Because it can't be both.
Lose his license. The point of me sharing this is to give a voice to victims. And I am appalled to hear that people are making videos doxing him.
The point of this video is to give a voice to victims. But I don't want this man to get fired because what happened wasn't predatory enough, I guess. Right? What the fuck are you saying? So it's bad enough that you jump on the internet to tell people his name, call him a predator, call yourself a victim and a survivor. But it's not enough for him to get fired? Is it because it's not true? Honestly, I don't know if it's rage bait on the internet. I think she had a story and ran with it. Do I think that she actually had a crush on her psychiatrist? I do. Do I think that he didn't reciprocate because he's a professional? Also, yes. Do I think she's mad and she's retaliating? Also, yes.
So I am begging people, please, if you see a video of his first and last name or his picture, report it for doxing. I've certainly been using that report button a lot. I'm here to share my story, not to get him in trouble.
If you were here to share your story and not get him in trouble, you would not have called him a predator. You would not have called this abuse. You would not be referring to yourself as a victim.
accidentally use his first name, but by the time I caught the slip, I was already like 3 videos past it. But it doesn't matter because this is my story and I can tell it the way that I want.
Can you maybe take it down and edit it and edit his name out? Could you do that? Would that have been, once you finally caught it, should you have taken the video down that had his fucking name in it? But no, because only one of us needs to be ethical, right?
And a first name is not doxing. And I can't control what other people do, but I am asking for people to please report any videos that dox him. So I've also got...
Including yours? Okay.
Some DMs saying that countertransference can mean anything, and it absolutely can mean anything. However, I had told my psychiatrist many times that I had a crush on him over the years, and he did not say transference once to me. He did not explain that once to me. And what I've been hearing and taking in from the ethical psychiatrists that are on my For You page talking about my situation is that really they're taught to teach their patient about transference and teach them about how to handle those feelings or why they're coming up. And my psychiatrist did not do that. He did not do that. And it got ugly. And it happened because I did digging on my own, because I was trying to make sense of my feelings that were a natural response to the environment that he created. So for him to leak countertransference after I said the buzzword of transference, that was not calculated. He was a very calculated and purposeful person. He still is to this day. And he doesn't slip with things like that. He purposefully withheld the term transference from me, and I got too close to the truth of our dynamic, which made him leak what he knew was wrong, which was his inappropriate...
My ears are leaking. Blood.
Appropriate feelings for me. If he didn't have countertransference in an inappropriate way, he could have easily just said, oh, let's explore that transference. That's really cool that you learned about it. Instead, he was just so worried on trying to protect himself because he knew what he was doing was...
Maybe he's also afraid of you. Maybe because you haven't taken any of the clues that he's given you. Maybe he's also worried for your mental well-being.
...was wrong. He had that slip at the beginning of the session. He recovered in January. And then I went home and I thought, wait a damn minute. Why would he mention that if he himself didn't have countertransference?
Oh my God.
So I went to Henry, of course, my ChatGPT, and asked for examples of how my psychiatrist might have countertransference for me. And remember, Henry at this point was being very protective. You know, he wasn't going to feed my delusions, me and my psychiatrist living happily.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Me. I asked Henry to elaborate more on countertransference. Absolutely. Countertransference happens when a therapist or healthcare provider unconsciously projects their own feelings, thoughts, or experiences onto a patient, which is interesting because this guy didn't say shit. It's essentially the flip side of transference. It's about the provider's internal reactions to the patient. While it's normal and common, professionals are trained to recognize and manage it so it doesn't affect their work or the therapeutic relationship, which in my opinion is exactly what he's doing. Here's how blank might experience countertransference with you. Empathy and care. He might feel a strong desire to protect or support you, especially if your story resonates with his personal experiences or reminds him. Okay, so, but basically, it's important to note that countertransference is not always sexual either. Like, that's the first thing that it says. He might want to support you. He might feel like protecting you. This might not be a sexual thing. Thank you for mentioning countertransference to me, and I will keep that in mind for my future clients. I will also take your advice, encouragement to set a boundary with blank next time he says something about my looks, replying to my story. Your own boundaries inspire me so much. If I hear the word boundaries one more time, I'll punch myself in the fucking face.
Ever after. So I screenshotted it, sent my psychiatrist an email with the subject line of countertransference, and emailed it to him within an hour of our appointment, where he made probably the biggest slip of his professional life. I will put the email up here. So it's just essentially me saying, hey, I asked Henry to explain countertransference a little more. Here's what he said. Thank you so much for mentioning that. Your own boundaries inspire me so much, which now makes me gag because I've heard a lot that he's not crossing boundaries, but he used his boundaries as a shield. It's kind of weird to say, but he would like walk up to the ethical line and then slam a boundary down when I got too close. That was the email that I sent him. And then 10 days later, it was a full moon and I had a dream. Probably the most realistic dream I've ever had in my life. That him and I hooked up in his office. In the middle of the dream, while we were hooking up in his office,
This is horrifying. If this was a man telling this story, the internet would be up in fucking arms. Like, why is this acceptable because this is a woman?
I loved it. I thought it was really fun. And then after we were done and after I left his office in the dream, I was despondent and so sad and cried and just thought, I can't believe my psychiatrist would cross his boundaries like that. And then I woke up and it was like a movie. I thought to myself, oh, thank God that was just a dream. It's time to talk about the elephant in the room, and that is the racial difference between me and my doctor. I have seen a lot of Black women on this app with the same take, and I need to say that Black women are the most important people on the planet to me, and that I have learned so much from Black women about how to be a better person and how to show up better in the world. They are the culture, and I am so grateful for them. Many Black women are seeing my story through the lens that I am a white woman who is taking.
The reason that my face is recoiling is because as a woman of color, to watch a white woman just be like, everything that like Black, it doesn't even matter if it was Black women, if it was Mexican women, if it was whatever, for her to be like, they are the culture, this is who I'm taking my advice from, blah 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 blah, like all of this is who I learned to show up to be better in the world. When you get on camera and you like say all of these things as a person of color, this comes off as wildly untrue. Wildly untrue. So I like that we're pandering to the POC community. Good for you. We've hit that point now. Okay.
Advantage of my whiteness to wield power over my POC psychiatrist that didn't want me back. And so I am trying to get him fired. And that's okay. I understand why you see it through that lens. I do. As a white person, I do my best to examine my racism every single day. And I will tell you that my psychiatrist...
Okay. Raise your hand in the chat if you have to examine your racism every single day. Just raise your hand if you wake up in the morning and you're like, ah, fuck! I must examine my racism. How many people are like, I examine my race? How racist are you that you have to examine your racism every single day? Holy shit. She just pulls a hood over her head. Put your goddamn hand down. Oh my God.
Boss is his best friend, who is also a POC male. And in that room, I did have white privilege, and he was also my doctor. And he took an oath to protect me, and he did not.
How did you have white privilege in your therapist's office? Holy shit. Are you examining your racism and playing the white privilege card at the same time? That's diabolical. You know what? I like it. I like it.
That my psychiatrist boss is his best friend, who is also a POC male. And in that room, I did have white privilege, and he was also my doctor. And he took an oath to protect me, and he did not. I am not here to ruin his career. I am
shut up. I would much rather say, like, drag his ass.
Here to speak my truth. Okay, back to my story. So after the countertransference slip, after the really vivid dream, I decided that I was going to stop going to therapy. Besides spiraling about how obsessed I was with my psychiatrist every day, I really was doing very well in life. My business was going really well, and I had great friends and great support systems.
Henry, ChatGPT, was that your support system?
And so I decided that I was going to end therapy. I still had every intention at this point to keep seeing my psychiatrist, but my therapist that I was seeing weekly, I just decided I didn't need her anymore. And especially when my psychiatrist pointed out her boundary violations of texting me for free advice in between the sessions, I just thought, okay, it's time. So I go into my next...
The only thing I'll ever text this girl is a restraining order.
Therapy appointment, and I say, hey, just so you know, today's going to be our last session. I'm doing really well, and I just think it's time. And she got kind of emotional, and she was like, okay, well, I like to end on certain questions just so we can reflect. So I did. I reflected with her about what I learned, what I've gained, how I've changed, how my life is better. And I left her office feeling complete and happy with my therapeutic journey with her. And as I was leaving, she called out with like crying. She was like, have a blessed life. And I was like, okay, that was a little weird, but whatever, you know. I was like, thanks. And I went on. And so then I'm getting ready for my psychiatry appointment the next day.
I'm a hairstylist, and when I've seen people for a long period of time and they're like, I'm moving, I have hugged my clients and cried. So I can only imagine how much a psychologist gets attached to somebody over a period of years. You get to know them. You get to know their ins and outs. You have conversations. This is very personal. And she's like, okay, thanks, fucking weirdo. Like, oh my God.
And I get an email that same night from her saying,
hi, Kendra. I'm so thrilled. I'm so thrilled for you as you prepare for your new adventures. Since I did not have advance notice of this being our last session, I was not prepared to provide what I believe is healthful closure. Usually we review your goals and see how we did, as well as look at how you've changed in addition to discussing what you've learned, in which we address somewhat of today. Please consider having additional session where we are both aware of making it the best closure possible. Yeah. That seems standard.
That she needs me to come back in for one more session. I will put it up. And
this is normal. This is normal. And I know it's normal because my fucking therapist sent it to me too. Oh my God. My therapist is in love with me, you guys.
I got a huge emotional wave in that moment. I was like, what the heck is this? Like, we wrapped everything up.
What does it say about you if she calls you weird?
I had seen lots of therapists at this point, and I didn't ever have a therapist beg me to come back in for one more.
Bet you never had anybody beg you to come back. Again, where self-awareness would help you.
Session. And I was so overwhelmed. I did not write her back, but it was extremely inappropriate. So I decided I was going to go to my February session with my psychiatrist and have him help me write the goodbye email and say, no, I don't want to come back in. I taught a yoga class this morning, like I do every Tuesday mornings, and I told my regular students about what's going on for me and how I'm sharing my story of provider abuse and how the internet is not happy with me right now. And I used that to say that our truth is really important to share. And that when we know something deep down needs to be said, that it's important to do it in whichever way feels.
A truth is important to share with factual information. A truth, not our truth, not your truth, the truth. Holy shit. I can just say whatever I want as long as I call it my truth. And if I feel as though it needs to be said, then I can just spread this all over the internet and go viral and ruin this man's life. My name's Kendra, and I go to Alabama. Roll Tide.
best to us. And TikTok just happened to be that medium for me. I told my students how I've just been going through psychological warfare, and the internet is not happy with me for sharing my story and my truth. But I'm not doing it for the people that think I'm crazy, which maybe honestly I am a little bit, because who subject
I don't think this is crazy. I think this is very calculated, actually. So, nana boo boo.
themselves to this kind of torture. But I'm doing it for the people that DM me, that say, thank you so much for being brave enough
I'm doing it for external validation.
to share your story, because the exact same thing happened to me. So I am
Don't lie. You're not doing this shit for anybody else but yourself. Shut up.
grateful for those DMs. People are starting to attack my business and my livelihood. And that's
Oh, how does that feel? How does that taste?
okay. I know what I have to offer is important. It landed in my lap. I'm not pretending to be something that I'm not. I help ADHDers get and stay sober, and I help them with negative thinking and anxiety. And it's what works for me, and I've seen it work in my clients too. So if people want to drag me for the work that I do, that's okay. So I get that weird email from my therapist begging me to come back in for one more session. And so the next day is my next session with the psychiatrist, and I sit down in the chair and I bury my head in my hands. And he looks at me and said, so this is how we're going to start, huh? And I said, yeah, because he hadn't written me back from my countertransference email. Big surprise. You know, any smart, which he was very smart. He was very, very professional. But
maybe he just doesn't want to fucking talk to you out of the time that he's obligated.
Would have dropped me like that in that moment. He should have emailed me back and said, look, this is getting weird. You need to find a new psychiatrist. The office will contact you. But he could not let go of me. So instead of turning down the intimacy,
Maybe my self-esteem is too low. I need to raise. He couldn't get enough of me. I need to up my self-esteem, I think.
he turned it up to a level 12. And he showered me with so many breadcrumbs that next session. Because really, what I did when I told him that I'm experiencing transference was I took 100% of the ownership for the dynamic that both of us were creating. So he rewarded me. And he gave me little compliments like, if you weren't my patient, I would refer my other patients to you for your coaching services. That meant so much. Of course, because what he was saying with that is, I see you as a peer. I see you as a colleague. What you're doing is important. I felt really recognized in that moment. And sure, he could have said it professionally, but he did it on purpose. So in that session, after the psychiatrist told me that he would refer patients to me if he could, if I wasn't already his patient, I asked him if he got my email and what he thought of my ChatGPT, of what he thought of Henry's response of countertransference. And the psychiatrist said, oh, I'm still thinking about what Henry said about countertransference. And I said, well, we talked about it a little more, and I want to read you something else. So I read the psychiatrist.
I can't imagine being a psychiatrist nowadays and somebody come in and being like, well, this is what my ChatGPT, shut up. It's like that Batman Robin where they're like, shut up. Someone check her TikTok profile for her being, oh no, she's gone she's doing live streams now. She's got moderators. Oh yeah. Yeah, she's taken this to the moon. She's like Haktua girl, but I'd rather have Haktua girl.
What Henry had to say more about it. When he told you countertransference is common, it might have been his way of normalizing the fact that providers aren't immune to feelings. It's part of being human. What matters is how well they keep those feelings in check, which the psychiatrist's name clearly excels at. And as you can imagine, the psychiatrist loved hearing that. He loved.
How do you know how he feels? Has he told you any of these things? Because if he has not told you any of these things, we don't know them to be true.
Hearing that.
That's right. I forgot. It's your truth.
Because my AI mirror was essentially just saying, yes, he has feelings for you, but he just keeps them in check so well. He's so good at his job, keeping his feelings in check.
Girl, you could read between the lines as wide as the Grand fucking Canyon. Holy shit. Holy shit. Or maybe I said that backwards. Maybe it should be something really small. I don't know. Either way. Even Henry was like, and Henry's like, I didn't fucking say that shit.
And, oh, the psychiatrist loved that so much. And what did he do? He rewarded me with my favorite breadcrumb, intellectual stimulation.
I was going to say focaccia.
Fun metaphor, because he was watching me the entire time I was his patient, and he knew what made me light up. He knew what got me excited, what I liked. And so he thought for a moment, and he said, I'm feeling a salad of emotions right now.
Oh my God,
like,
John.
What are you talking about?
Put it in the Discord.
And he said, a salad of emotions. A beet of raw emotion, a tomato of surprise, and the salt amplifies it. And I was cracking up at this point. He nailed it. I just thought he was so brilliant and smart in this moment. And I asked him, I said, what? Say that again. He said, yeah, the beet, it's really raw. I'm feeling a lot of raw emotion. And the tomato of surprise, when it pops in your mouth, it's surprising. And I was like, oh.
That's what I was to my mom. A tomato of surprise.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, this man at this point knew exactly how to make me happy and exactly how to pull away to make me try to work harder. And he gave me the biggest reward from Henry, my AI mirror, telling him that what he's doing is totally good and that his boundaries are so virtuous. A lot of things happened in that session after the countertransferred slip. And I also had my psychiatrist help me draft the email to my therapist who was begging me to come back in. And the psychiatrist said, I used to have respect for her. And what he meant when he said that was, I used to like it when she would feed me to you and have you deliver.
How do you know that? You don't know that.
Intimate content to me. But the moment she started being sloppy, I lost respect for her. Right? I'm pretty sure that's what he meant when he said that.
I'm pretty sure that's what this whole thing is. It's my truth, so I'm just pretty sure this is what happened. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure.
And people have asked if they were connected. Surprisingly, they were not. They had no idea. They had never met before. But I would go to my therapist every week and tell her how much I loved my psychiatrist. And she, loved hearing about that dynamic. It was so weird.
I'm gonna have to get off soon.
So he helped me draft the email to that
I want to finish this so bad.
therapist to say, look, if I were to end up coming back, it'd be more for you than for me, and more on that in a later part. So then I read him a text from my longtime ex-boyfriend, who he had originally really liked, but I think my psychiatrist preferred me single. Because
Which is
my
why
ex-boyfriend,
wait a
as most
second.
ex-boyfriends
Which is why he told you to stay with your boyfriend?
was begging me to come back into his life too. And I just kept saying no. And I asked him to give me some space, and he would not give me space. He said, do you still need space, or can we hang out? And I told I asked my ex-boyfriend, I just said, why do you want to hang out so badly? And my ex-boyfriend texted me back, because it's been a few months since I've seen you and it's been on my mind. And I was reading this text exchange to my psychiatrist in session, and I read what I responded to that weak line about why he wanted to see me. And I said, my self-respect is much higher these days than when we were in a relationship. I am only interested in accepting invitations for my time and attention that value me and recognize my worth. Being on your mind is not an acceptable invitation, and I decline.
This motherfucker was like, you could have just said no.
And my psychiatrist just looked at me and said, I bet your ex had to read that twice. And this was another thing about the psychiatrist, okay? He couldn't ever just give me a regular compliment. It had to be those weird sideways compliments. Instead of, I'm so glad that you're setting boundaries with your ex-boyfriend and growing your self-respect, it's, I bet he had to read that twice. Or it's not, I'm really proud of you for growing your coaching business and finding success. It's, I'd refer my patients to you if you weren't already my patient, right? These are what I mean when I say breadcrumbs. He was a master at them.
She wrote a book.
And this is how, looking back, I know that I was not his first victim for his fantasy supply. Because he was too good and too slick up until he caught feelings. Then he started getting sloppy. People are asking me for more concrete evidence, and this is when the concrete evidence really starts, because this is when he himself started to get sloppy. Because what was happening was, when I had started to see him 3.5 years before, I was a nearly perfect supply source for him. Because what did I
Supply of what?
have? I had low self-esteem, boundary issues, daddy issues, so I put him on a pedestal.
Really? Because it seems like you've been pretty fucking self-absorbed this whole time.
I know a lot of you ladies out there can understand that with men in positions of power. And he went right to work exploiting me.
For research.
Right to work, grooming me. Like, and he was very successful at it.
Oh my God.
So he was in a paradox, right? Because he loved watching me get stronger, because
How
I
much
gave
is
him
it?
better
How much
intellectual
is it?
supply. But I also threatened the supply source. The last 2 videos and this video was all the same session in February of this year. The counter-transference slip happened in January.
Guys, I'm staying till the last minute because
How I decided to end this session was I looked at the psychiatrist.
I gotta keep going.
And I said, a couple weeks ago, on the full moon, when I was ovulating, I had a dream about you. And he was like, oh yeah? And I said, yeah. So I told him this. And I said, yes, we hooked up right here in this office. And he all of a sudden just looked so uncomfortable.
I'm going to stop you right there. You're a woman with clients, right? Imagine if one of your male clients was like, I had a dream about you the other night and I woke up with a raging boner. This fucking bitch would call the police. That is so wildly inappropriate. You're the predator. Holy shit.
He didn't say anything. He couldn't look at me. He couldn't breathe. And sure, you know, maybe he was uncomfortable because he didn't like me saying that I had a dream where we hooked up, but he could have.
But what? What is that face? Imagine if somebody in a professional setting, a male, came up and said that to you and started talking about he woke up and had a wet dream about you. You would freak the fuck out. And what if he was like, sorry. Oh.
Said that, but he didn't.
You're disgusting. You are disgusting.
You want to know why he was uncomfortable? Because he had probably played out that fantasy so many times in his head. And there I was, speaking it back to him. And it was like
Exactly. Nothing about this arc was appropriate. She is playing a character. And I don't know which part is rage baiting or which part is actually true, because I do think some of it is actually true on her end. But if this is true, it's disgusting.
Had psychically downloaded one of his fantasies. I continued and I said, yes, we hooked up in this office and I really liked it while it was happening. He could not move or breathe. And then
He's probably scared for his fucking life. And the way that I think about this is being a woman in a professional setting with a man saying this to me and we are locked in a room. Now, for a man, on the other hand of that, imagine if he does do anything and he knows how fucking weird you are and you run out and you accuse him of something. Men need to be very careful about the way that they act sometimes because of the way bitches like you like to perceive it and use it against them. Holy shit.
I told him, as he was still looking very uncomfortable, then when we were done and I left.
Oh, when he gave you the context clues that he was uncomfortable, you kept going, right? Because that would be acceptable flipped around if this was a man doing this to you. It would be acceptable for you to be uncomfortable and for him to keep going. God, I am so fucking mad.
Left, I was distraught.
Good.
With sadness. Because in the dream, I thought, I cannot believe that he crossed boundaries in that way. Because his boundaries are so important to him. And then I told my psychiatrist that I woke up and thought, oh my God, it was just a dream, thank God. And it was like my psychiatrist turned into a little boy. And he looked at me and he said, "So you do like my boundaries?"
Yeah. And if that's true, so you do like his boundaries, but you continue to cross them purposefully.
And I said, "I love your boundaries. I hate your boundaries, but I love them more. There's the push and pull, the trauma bond."
There's no trauma bond. This is the wrong use of this word.
Because once again, he used his boundaries as protection while exploiting.
That's what they're for, you fucking idiot. Boundaries are for protection. Oh my God.
Me. So I told him about what happens when I ovulate and my desires, and he listened, because of course he did.
Because he's a doctor. But if there was a man, your client, in a room with you privately talking about what happens when he jerks off, I bet you'd feel real unfucking comfortable, wouldn't you?
And then I
Dumbass.
decided that it seemed like enough time had gone by, and I put my shoes on and started heading to the door. And he met me at the door, which he does not usually do. He didn't ever do that.
car
He
is
just
in
let me
love
leave.
with me.
And we stood at the door, and I was like, "Will you get the door?" And he scrambled. He was like, "Oh, sure, sure, sure." So we went and got the door. And then he followed me down the hallway to the foyer.
To probably make sure that you fucking left.
And watched me exit. And he asked me, he said, "See you next month?" See you next month? He hadn't ever asked me that before. And I looked at him and I said, "Maybe." And I walked out the door, and I saw that man had let us go 15 minutes over session. And that is when, you know, the special treatment started.
Yeah, sometimes if you're their last client, they'll let you do that. My therapist did that. She's a woman with a husband and kids. I mean, she was probably just in love with me because I guess she's a raging lesbian, because I am just so amazing. But there have been times where I've been her last appointment and we've just been talking. And you know what? I knew it. It's because she's my lover now.
Sessions. He usually gave me an extra 5 minutes, but yeah.
Right. Like the
sessions
entry to
got
the
longer.
office.
And I got to my car and I was just like, oh my God, that was the most intense session we have ever had.
Okay. So I'm going to stop here. Somebody mark this down. So we're at the 60-minute mark because we are going to do this in the members. We're going to finish it in the members only live on Friday. Let me just wrap this up, okay? Number one, what the fuck? I personally think that this woman is telling stories on purpose to get views. Her behavior is disgusting and vile, and the fact that it's being celebrated online when if this was a man, people would find it predatory and disgusting, I think is insanely gross. I feel sorry for this doctor and the things that he's had to go through because he met this client. Yeah. Yikes. Thank you. Other than that, I will see you guys. Members. Oh, I have to tell you, there will be no members video today because I lost it. I uploaded the public one for Sunday, and then I went to upload the members, and I cannot, it is lost in the abyss. And I don't want to rip the same video off of YouTube to upload it because it'll distort the quality of it. I don't know where it went. I don't know what happened. I freaked out for like 2 hours yesterday trying to find it. Have no idea where it went. I save all of my videos, and I do not know what happened. With that being said, you guys are the best. I know that I'm amazing, okay? And I know that you guys always just like transfer your stuff onto me. And I know that you're in love with me. I know that you're in love with me. And I know that's what you're saying. 60 minutes in the chat. I know that that means that it's only been 60 minutes, but you love me. I put it in the Discord. Yeah, it's because you're obsessed with me. So love to all. You mean love to me? Because you love me so much? Thanks for the stream, you weirdo. You guys are the best. I had fun today, sort of. My ears hurt. I've gone from laughing to hatred to confusion. I'll see you guys in the Discord. I haven't drank in 2 months. I might need to start again. I'm going to go get a beef stick. All right. I love you guys. Bye.